Giddy.
Let's get it. Let's get it. All right, everybody. Welcome to Moment by Moment, joined by the usual suspects, three ball King Brett, and fired up today to have the legendary Austin Kent, Mr. Moment. Maybe we should call Mr. Moment, not only in the moment in TopShot, but always ready in a moment's notice to jump on with dudes like us and talk hoops. Dude, I tell you what, man, I just have been a fan, obviously from a distance, watching you on Twitter, and I love that you're a hoop head. It's just coming out of your pores, bro, and growing up in it, one hoop head to another. What is that, game recognized game kind of thing? So thanks for coming on, bro.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much for having me. Just I've been excited about chatting with you guys. I've loved seeing what you guys have been doing on Twitter and with your shows. Just it's real refreshing to be able to have fun conversations. And like you said, it's really just all about the basketball. It's like why we're all here. It's why we're all in the TopShot, and it's why we all grew up, obsessed with this sport. So it's fun to be here.
Well, I really appreciate season 4, the telling the story of the season, because as an NBA fan, and what I love about TopShot is how it brings more life to that fandom, right? Every season's different. These Maverick fans sadly know that right now, but it's just so cool to see the season stories told and have a collection, right, forever, that I can go back to and relive some of this season's moments you want to relive, maybe moments you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the goal. And, we're four like NBA seasons deep into this thing now. And I think series 4 obviously is the strongest one of all, like, as we keep learning, like what works best for curation, what works best for sort of documenting the stories of that season. Like, I really kind of view what we do, like, weirdly enough, very similar to what like Basketball Reference does. Like, Basketball Reference does it for the numbers and the quantitative side of the sport. If you want, you can go back and look at every team's box score from the 2019-20 season, and that's great. I do it all the time. Lots of us,
right,
like, we're obsessed with it.
Right.
But nothing really archives and organizes and just like sorts and preserves the emotional side, the fandom side, that sort of visceral, like, qualitative side. And I feel like that's what we can do. And so at the end of the day, like, if you're a Mavs fan and you really don't want to live in this season, you'd rather just go back and watch the run to the Western Conference Finals last year, you can do that. Because in a very structured way, it's laid out that way, and that story is sort of put in the time capsule, and you're not left to just, well, what can I find on YouTube, or what can I find buried on Twitter? So I love that that's how you're using the product, because that just feels like the value that we can provide for basketball fans.
That's right. Love it.
Well, we love basketball, which is why we love watching the moment so much. And so it's really cool to talk to the content curator, at least what's your actual title for the content curation team, Austin?
Yeah, so I'm the senior content lead of TopShot. I think that's what's on the official title. So yeah, senior, it kind of covers a lot, lead. But
that's awesome. We definitely wanted to highlight you. We had Brandon on earlier this week, but y'all's team is killing it. Have been, but just this series 4 is so great, and we wanted to highlight and bring you guys on because we don't feel that a lot of people, especially newer to the product, know you guys and wanted to bring this stuff to light. So what you guys are doing is so great, making it about the basketball. Brandon said that you said a quote unquote, push the basketball is kind of what you guys are working on a lot in series 4. And it is so evident in the moments and the ones you're choosing, the stories you're telling. So basketball heads, we're loving it. So great job.
Thank you. Appreciate you saying that.
You mentioned archiving the moments, and I'll just go ahead and use that buzzword QN Treaticus here. We've really enjoyed the start of S4. Y'all doing 86, 87. I heard you talk about it on another podcast, but wanted to bring it here because the archive moments mean a lot to us with that Rolando Blackman, Derek Harper. There's some cool Mavs moments, but in that rare run it back set, our boy Treaticus has some special moments in there that mean a lot to him. I'm sure he wants to talk to you a little bit about that.
Heck
Yeah, man. And again, we go back to what we're saying. For me, it's the story of the NBA season, but it's also every series of TopShot. I have a different collection experience. And so this year for me was all about getting the big three, the true big three, the greatest front line in the history of the NBA, Bird, McHale, and Parrish. And so I got, and this is the kind of funny stuff. It's so cool. So I was doing the what was that set that was the first
doing the rookie debuts.
Well, no, it was the Blake Griffin. The Blake Griffin became the bottleneck, and the price for that thing went.
Squad goals. Is that squad goals?
Yeah, squad goals. Yeah. So I was like doing that, and then that thing spiked, and I was like, dang. And so I just sold that, and that got me. I was able to use the money from that to get into the Larry Bird challenge. And I got that, and I bought the Parrish along with it. So I had Bird and Parrish, and then I'm just dying, man. I'm going, it just doesn't feel right.
Bring them together.
Bring them together. And then I was collecting the rookie set because my CNC fam is like going to banish me if I don't have it. And that spiked. So I'm selling these rookies. And then I thankfully, with some help of a lot of different folks, got McHale. And so now, I mean, that's my pride right there.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And, that's something that we just wanted to make sure we just covered thoroughly. Like the way I kind of look at it as we go back in time, like as we, whatever year we land on, I just want to, thoroughly tell that story. And, especially that playoff run, like the injuries, like in that Parrish play against the Bucks, like he missed the games prior. Like it's just loaded with context as this, that dynasty, kind of coming to an end. Coming to an end. At that point. But you just saw the heart of the champions, right? Like McHale dunking in a walking boot. Like I just love that so much. And
load management,
Larry, of course. Yeah,
load management. Not
a thing.
Back when I played, I'm feeling like an old dude. But hey, listen, that's the. I think that for me is just part of the whole, the whole experience, and why I love the champions path that you guys are, because I'm feeling like I'm more invested in the playoffs now because I'm collecting on TopShot. Like in a way, like last year, I wasn't going to collect the playoff set until the Celtics made a run, but it was nothing like now, where I'm really trying to think deeply about how to deal with these redemption collectibles with a deep Celtics run, right? It might happen or it might not, which is okay. So I love that about the champions path.
Yeah, it's really a neat way of kind of being like flexible in a position where you can be ready for whatever story plays out in front of you. Hopefully for your sake, it is another deep Celtics run. And if not, then everything just like, within the sort of this new mechanic, like it just will shift to a different team, and you don't have to worry about these other factors, which, like for the first time really as a concept, I know redemptions as a concept can kind of feel complicated and like a lot, but the concept itself at its core, to me, it's just so simple. It's the first time in TopShot's history that we've separated, hey, great new basketball play has happened. That doesn't necessarily mean new supply is coming. We've detached those for the first time ever. Nice. And to just give us basketball fans, like whether you're on the community side or whether you're on the internal side, like, hey, Jason Tatum did something great. Like let's pump that out and celebrate it, and not just like kind of duck as people like more Jason Tatum moments. Like but that's just something that had to get solved. And at its core, redemptions, just the concept of having this like fixed supply number that still gives us space to cook, gives these players space to cook in a way that doesn't harm the experience. Total game changer. So we're excited to learn from whatever learnings we can get from this postseason, because I think this concept could really be something that works in a lot of different capacities, and we're just excited to see where it goes. But definitely excited for it.
And everybody's different. For me, I've never been a big roadmap person. I like this in the sense of that there's variables that nobody can predict, right? I mean, we just don't know. And I love to hear that, you're going to use this as a way to learn, because I think, something like this in Series 5, where you've got these redemption, you've got the ability to kind of pick and choose what you want to lean in on, right?
Yeah.
If you want to lean in on a certain set or I don't who like, and again, I say this a lot. We're still so early in TopShot and what could happen. I think so many times we tend to, import the past onto the future when the future's unknown, and that's okay. Like it's fun not to know, but that's just me. I'm not saying everybody's got to feel that way, and I'm not condemning anybody that thinks differently. But I love the unknown aspect of that, and I'm okay with taking that risk on the front end, because at the end of the day, I'm telling you, let's say the Celtics are done in round 1, I still got some redemption collectibles. I'm gonna lock up.
Yeah.
If I can't trade them in,
Yeah, absolutely. Just gotta, just be bold and ambitious, test things, but most importantly, just take notes, see what works, and drop the stuff that doesn't work.
Yeah,
and just pursue the things that do.
Love it, man. I know that's not for everybody, but that's one of the things I've enjoyed, and we talk about it too. That I know it's just been a couple years, man, but it's a completely unrecognizable difference, right? From when
absolutely inside and out, just in terms of obviously the output, but just the process for how things get done. Every month, just putting bricks on top of bricks and, building something that, is just feels so much more satisfying, now at the end of Series 4 than it did at the beginning of Series 4 and in Series 3. Yeah. So gosh, and going back, and I've done a lot of, in the last 6 months to a year, I've done a lot of kind of going back and basically auditing like content that exists throughout the product, and just being able to see the differences, to see stuff like, maybe I would have done that a little bit differently. Now I just feels like everything's trending in such a great direction as the team has grown. You mentioned like earlier, just, Brandon has just been an MVP for us. He's been just amazing. So layering on top of this foundation, and you don't really notice the changes as they happen because they're kind of incremental. But then when you go back and be like, oh, that's how we used to do it, or that's how it used to be done. And you're like, how did we survive? But anyway, if you're not always getting better, then what have you been doing here, right? So
yeah. And we tend to be impatient. But I've got this. I won't make it all about the Celtics, but I think there's a NBA TopShot and Jalen and Jason, right? It's the curse of early success, right? When we had all those hopes for Kyrie and Hayward, that team, and those guys went down, and young Jalen and Jason took us to Eastern Conference Finals, and so it made it feel like those guys were further along than they really were, right? And so then you get these crazy people talking about blowing it up. I'm like, what are you talking? Just slow down. just slow. We're just getting started with this foundation. And so TopShot, I feel like it's that way, like that early success, and now we're starting to find our groove, just like the Celtics. So as the Celtics go, TopShot go. I don't know.
I love
maybe,
it.
Maybe not.
I think that's my favorite comparison that I've heard for TopShot. Yeah, because it's true, right? Like, when we got Jason Tatum on the scene as a as a MVP candidate when he's like 22 years old. They're like, he doesn't have a championship. He's already 24. What are you doing? I'm like, relax. Like,
yeah.
Got off to a great start, and you love to see that. But just that, give it time, and I love just watching those guys develop.
Yeah.
I've always been a big fan of Tatum, but now just to see him, you just know that it was this superstardom was inevitable. You knew that early. Like even going back to just like the relationship he had just with Kobe, you just knew greatness was there, and just give him time to work and put in the work, and now we're seeing the benefits.
And it's cool. I love hearing you say that. I mean, one of the things we talk a lot about is how now that we've made all these connections, because the collecting and the connecting go together, I've found myself, I know a lot more about the NBA as far as other players that aren't on my team. And I find myself following and rooting for teams because of my buddies like Three Ball and King Brett here.
The fact that we even know who Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren and those guys up there are down here in Texas, that shows you that the product's working. I mean, we're collecting guys and learning about the Detroit Pistons up there.
Heck yeah. I'm pushing my Pistons agenda on you guys. It's good to know it's working.
It's working.
No.
Brad, I know you see that jersey. We're live streaming if you're listening to this, but if you're watching, Austin's got a jersey behind him. Brett, you see who that is?
I noticed that beautiful blue as soon as I turned on the screen. Nash, I love some Nash in my life, buddy.
Yeah,
I knew that jersey.
I knew I had to. I wanted to fit in with the Mavs fans here. It'll be a Celtics jersey next time, or a Grizzlies jersey next time. You tell me what your preference is, but for today, it's a Mavs jersey.
I knew you were going to change it as soon as this was over. Get it out of here.
I love that era of Mavs basketball. I'm Canadian, obviously, so like Steve Nash, like especially as a young Canadian fan. We didn't have a whole lot of Canadian players, right? We had like Bill Wennington, and we kind of would cheat and take Rick Fox because he like spent like a half hour in Canada before moving away. But so when Steve Nash came on the scene and was, went to the Mavs and was just on this fascinating team with young Dirk and Michael Finley, like I'd stay up late to watch those games. And, just that energy around when Cuban took over the team was just like contagious. And, I think I've always had a soft spot for this team ever since. Obviously it didn't last as long as it probably should have with Steve Nash on board. But man, what the original like bromance. I loved that the Nash Dirk relationship.
Yeah, that I love that team too, and that era. That's great. And look, your Pistons. Definitely juggernaut, right? My NBA fandom, that team, they were a juggernaut in the East for so long. And you couldn't help but respect how, both of their runs recently, right? For championships. They just were they were teams, right? You had some superstars ish, right? Probably Isaiah Thomas, right? But at the end of the day, man, you had guys that were just playing roles, playing team basketball. Again, as a coach's son, you see that, right? It wasn't just about one guy. It was about a team having an identity as one and accomplishing a goal together. I mean, you couldn't help but respect those last few runs they had with Billups' crew and then Isaiah before that. You had to love that.
Yeah, they're I feel spoiled as a Pistons fan, and it's funny to say that because it's like been like 15 years of absolute like like nauseating mediocrity. Like, I mean, the last 2 years have been good ever since we won the lottery. But I didn't mind at all. Like, I didn't mind just the decade of futility that, has been most of my adult life, because when I was a teenager, when I was a kid, it was just like, hey, we didn't win the championship this year. That's weird. Like, I guess we'll wait till next year. Like, I grew up on the Michigan border, like in Ontario, but on the Michigan border. So kind of just immersed with Pistons fans and the legacy of the bad boys and all that stuff. So it was really fun to be able to work with those in the 86-87 set. But gosh, that Ben Wallace, Chauncey Billups, like Pistons team, like we were talking about, slowing the pace down when we're coaching games, defensive battles. Like, I've had this conversation with a few people lately, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to watch like an 80-75 basketball game again. Like, give it to me. Like, I have no problem with that. Like, and the Pistons were the type of team where sometimes the first team to 75 points would win the game. Like, it's just such a different brand of basketball. And, I know, I understand the analytics behind like what's sort of inspired this era, but gosh, sometimes I just want to watch these guys jacking up like terrible deep twos, and those Spurs Pistons battles that they had were just amazing.
Unbelievable.
But definitely feel spoiled to have the success that the Pistons did, and now I'm just chilling and waiting, and we got these young guys, and excited to see what comes next.
Brett and I are a hair younger than Treaticus, but we got to see highlights of the '89 squad Pistons. I mean, having 3 championships in your pocket is always going to make you a confident fan growing up. We had the same feeling with the Cowboys. It was like, oh, we didn't win this year. And then you go on a drought, and it's like, we still got this thing. We still got the championships, no big deal.
Yeah.
So definitely feel you on that. But 04 was right in our wheelhouse, and seeing those guys hit the nail on the head is just for a team basketball. Larry Brown, I think, but that's just a squad.
Oh, yeah.
Fun to watch.
Yeah, that's the year I'm most looking forward to running back to 03, 04. So
that will be good. We can keep getting sidetracked and talking about all kinds of things, but let's go ahead and dig into a moment if you guys are ready.
All right, let's go. Series 2, let's do it.
Series 2, gonna rewind the tapes to 2 series. Gonna go back to, let's start with Domantas Sabonis, since that's topical. We got him in a Kings jersey now, but
okay.
Let's see.
Say his name 5 times fast.
All right. Should have it on mute, and we should be able to see it. Everybody can see that okay?
There you go.
It should stay on loop, so we should get to see it a couple times.
I love it.
Joe Ingles, I love this play. He's starting the ball where he's doing a little hold-off play on the defender, and keeps him on his back. Creates the 2-on-1 like he's supposed to, and Sabonis even stops him and then gets back there to say, no, thank you. Get that out of here.
Yeah. You love it. Sabonis is just watching Sabonis develop, and then also, of course, see the success that he's had and that whole Kings fan base has had has just been really, really fun, because you could see the upside of Sabonis, even going back to his Thunder days, but especially with the Pacers, obviously. 3-time All-Star. Like, that's impressive, historically speaking. 3-time All-Star. But I love this one. And Sabonis is a big part of the CoolCat set. He's the guy getting, dunked on in the CoolCat LaMelo, of course. So Sabonis is sort of all over this set. But
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, sorry guys. This was from I think this was this the third of the 4 CoolCats releases. Players in cold climates, CoolCats is an interesting set for me. I was like, we were dropping CoolCats like right when I started, and I think I was even working with the team. There was no dedicated curation team specifically at this time, and I was at this time I was still working at Slam, but I was starting to do some freelancing with these guys, mostly writing descriptions. But then we started talking about well, hey, we got this set, CoolCats, what can we do with it? And then that was the first time we really explored the like thematic like sub releases. So this one was like players from like cold climates, you know. So we're like just looking all over for, you know, there's Canadian players, there's players from Europe and stuff like that. Kind of cheated a bit here with Domantas Sabonis because he was born in Portland. I don't know that we can count that as a cold climate, but he plays for Lithuania, so we're going to give him some credit there. So that's why he made it in here. No, that was just such a fun time, and everybody talking about what the rewards are going to be, what the reward requirements are going to be different. Like just such a surreal experience to go through. I don't know if you guys remember that on the collector side, but it was fun.
All three of us are current NLL holders with the set locked, but we finished all at different times throughout our collecting journey. But we love this set and love talking about it. And Sabonis, I mean, it's fun to watch him on the Kings right now. That Halliburton trade seems like such a great move for them. I'm glad that things are working out.
Yeah, 100%. And I've kind of said this in good times and in bad times, most recently in the Gobert trade. Like whether you agree with a deal or not, and I think the Gobert deal is a little bit different, where people are just like, what the heck is going on? But there was an element of that reaction when this trade went down. Like, why would you give up Tyrese Halliburton for this guy? And I kind of always have a soft spot for teams that go all in. And the Kings knew what they were doing. It was just such a show of faith in De'Aaron Fox, Davion Mitchell, to go out and get just this amazing piece to add. And they enjoy every ounce of the success they've had this year as a franchise and as a fan base, especially as an organization, I think, for making a move that they must have known. Like, people are going to come up with pitchforks like, why are you trading like Tyrese Halliburton away? But just to get truly one of the most underrated like all-stars in the NBA. And I just love to see it. I'm such a fanboy for fun stories. But
heck yeah. What do you think, Brett? What we got? What are some of the deets on this bad boy?
Well, I'm laughing too in our comments. Dream Shakes over here talking about Sabonis being the future, have version of him in the Pacers version and the Kings version on NBA 2K. So he's got some funny stuff going on in the chat. I think that's pretty funny. It would be interesting to have a player on two teams in NBA 2K. I don't know how that would work, but I'm sure they'll make it happen. This moment, there's 15,000 of them. There's 500 still hidden in packs. I do love watching him play. 34 minutes, 20 points, bubble moment. I love how he kind of transitions over from the guy driving in the lane to get that block there. But $4 floor, which is crazy. So if you're not in, you don't have CoolCats. This is one of the first, like Austin said, I think the third or fourth one that was kind of produced out there, which is real hot. So it's definitely a good one to add to your collection.
Derek Favors. Nuh-uh. Get that out of here.
Get it out. Get it out. Hey, he ain't doing him no favors.
You mentioned Sabonis being a three-time All-Star. This was his first year being an All-Star in 2020, 2021. And it's been helpful on moment ranks with it being a block, playing a little bit of fantasy on the side.
Nice. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Anybody have anything else on Sabonis before we shift gears?
I wish I was 6'11".
All right. That was a good first one. Got him and all three guys today are in the current playoffs. Maybe their teams are, because this guy number 2 is a special player. And he had to watch his team play from the sidelines yesterday and is out for the rest of the playoffs with a broken hand, I believe. What Herro, is it broken hand?
Yep.
Man, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is too bad. You know, Tyler Herro is such a fun playoff competitor, another guy, I mean, not quite on Tatum's level, but another guy at a very young age that proved that, hey, give me the spotlight, I want it, So to get him taken out of the playoffs so early is just like a bummer for all of us.
Yeah, being all rookie, second team that year, 2020, in his first year in the league from Kentucky. Another first rounder, just like Sabonis and the next guy. But a step back move, doesn't really get any space there on content, and just decides I'll go towards baseline. Doesn't have any room there, and man, that floater falling out of bounds. That's an impressive move from a rookie.
Yeah, tough shot for a guy who just makes tough shots look great. You mentioned Kentucky. That was kind of the theme of this drop. So this was the second of the 4 CoolCat releases. So the first one, I was just a collector at that point, but the second release, this one with the Kentucky players and the CoolCat wave, and the challenge requirements were all other players with cat mascots. Like, we were just going a little crazy at this point, but just a moment in time that's near and dear to my heart. But there's a lot to say about this moment. It was such a bizarre time, just this revolutionary time in TopShot's history, of course, being so early, but just such a bizarre time in sports, like, period. Like, and I've got some alpha about this moment. Like, this one is actually a mismint. And I blame the curiosities of the NBA schedule during this weird COVID year, because the Heat and the Bucks, they played back-to-back games, and on December 29th and December 30th. It was the Bucks at the Heat both days. Just stuff you don't really see, and so that's why you'll see the discrepancy in the description, which is based on December 30th, the game that we were looking at in the video. But the on-chain data is that December 29th. And, that's that darn blockchain, that darn immutable blockchain is something that we can't fix. But all these things, we talk about the iterations that we've made to our process over the years, all the stuff behind the scenes, and, to avoid things like this. But sometimes you just got to learn things the hard way. And these are the things that I sort of look at, my team looks at sometimes when you see some of these moments. But
wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And look, that's one of the reasons that I'm, 9 Lives Lounge for life is the experience of collecting. And I remember, man, everybody was speculating, all Wildcats. I mean, even there was talk about tattoo cat.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was so fun.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, like, not really knowing, having those conversations, like, how's this going to play out? What's next? What are we going to do here? I feel that vibe coming back with the Champions Path, right?
Yeah.
You're engaged in collecting the moments, because there's knowns and there's unknowns, and you're having fun playing the game.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of those. And I really like Tyler Herro as a player. I got to see him live this year, floor seats, when they played the Grizzlies. And I was really impressed that, because he's not a big guy, right? I mean, you think about these NBA players. I mean, he's tall, but he's just not as thick. But dude just finds a way. I mean, he can shoot the ball. He can handle the ball. Like right here, that change of pace. I mean, that's a gift, man, to be able to kind of change pace like that. He's talented. I don't want to say he's not athletic. He's very athletic, but it's just a little bit sneaky, I guess I would say, because he doesn't look as much of a specimen as some of the other players. When you've seen him stand beside some of these other NBA players, you're like, the kid looks like he just came out of the stands in some ways, right? And just threw on a uniform, and he is balling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he knows that those are the sort of expectations that he defies. He definitely has that like it factor. One of the, now that we can collect again, obviously we couldn't as employees for a while, but now that we can, one that I just wish, I'm like, I want to add this to my collection one day, is Snarl, right? The Snarl moment. I'm like, what a guy. Who does that? Like, what 20-year-old does that? Like, in the I mean, was that conference finals? But just if we can approach the game with that level of confidence, not many people can, and then back it up, and he certainly does that. So
that's what I was going to say, is coming out with that noticeable swag and confidence. Right as a rookie, usually it gets silenced pretty quickly, but he was able to show out and did really good. And to Treaticus's point, you might think he's a spot up in the corner shooter, and then he's coming out and doing some pretty impressive stuff.
I mean, he's all right.
King Brett, what you got on stats for Tyler Herro?
Oh man, yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing at the chat. Y'all are cracking me up, fam. That's out there watching live today, talking about breaking his hand, not punching a wall. I love that, dude. Like Treaticus said, he's one of those baby faces that look like he should be watching the game. 6'5". I really enjoyed this moment. I think someone in chat was talking about this looks like a game of horse moment, where minus the fadeaway and crossover, but behind the basket, you can't make this, and just switch his hands lefty, put it up there. It's great. 6'5", 10,000 moments, 500 still hidden, but there's only 700 for sale right now, which is pretty crazy. I do like this bubble moment. Yeah, 32 minutes, 14 points. And it's only $5 right now. So go out there and find it, add it to your collection. For one of the young guys out there, I think this is definitely one of his must-have moments too, especially the bubble, just all the context. That's one of the things I really love as we progress from CoolCats all the way up into season 4 now, is the moments don't just get better, but the context surrounding the moments is what kind of creates emotion, which I really love seeing. Because for me, that's what these moments are all about. But go out there and get you some Tyler if you don't have him in your life. He's a must-have guy right there.
Yep,
absolutely.
I don't know what his high school district was like, but up in Wisconsin, he was averaging 32 a game in high school. And I feel like when I was looking at what he's been doing this season, it was some of his best stats. He had his first career triple-double. Just put up 41 against the Rockets, hit a buzzer beater against the Jazz. He was making some hay, and just got hurt at a tough time, it feels. Yeah. Not that they would have beat the Bucks anyway, but they did get game 1.
Yeah. He's had a great year. He's one of those guys you just look at it and you just see him with Bam and Jimmy, and obviously you have a different. Jimmy's a lot farther in his career than Tyler Herro is, and you just got to think that he's just going to get better and better and better. And what's the ceiling for this guy as this team becomes more and more his, right? Because you see he's just destined for the big moments, the game winners, the 40-point games and stuff like that. So it's only up from here.
And do they still have Haslam? Is he on the Heat?
Yeah, I think he's done, when the series is over, but yeah, he's still there.
Man,
yeah.
Speaking of veterans,
there you go.
Been in the league forever.
Yeah. And what a great organization to be part of for a young guy, right? They just seem to know what they're doing and know how to develop talent, and the stability, right? That stability organizationally is going to serve him well. I'm a fan. I'm definitely a Tyler Herro fan.
Yeah.
All right. If anybody doesn't have anything else, we'll move to our last and final moment. We got a Jrue Holiday moment. Got that playing.
Austin looks like he's excited about this one. You see the hands coming together.
Oh, yeah.
Edge of a seat.
Two sips of his green drink already.
There you go. Sorry. Yeah. My performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah. No, that's why you're skinny. You're drinking those things. The only thing I drink out of that bat is queso.
This
Love
is
queso.
Oh yeah. This is
Right. All I want for my birthday is more queso. That's what I told my fiance the other day.
I love it.
You got to cut and transition, not to shift gears, but Jrue throwing his hand up with the backdoor cut, and what a great pass over the top, and what an even better finish. Kind of a inner hand spin on the backside to avoid the block. Pretty impressive against the Wizards.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Drew's just one of those guys that can kind of do whatever you need him to do, he'll figure it out. Put some English on the little spin like this, he'll figure it out. This was the fourth and final wave of the CoolCat drop. This is when we were trying to figure out what can the fourth theme be. And it's funny, I don't know if you guys remember this one, but this was like the Stray Cats theme. Like, we're really hitting the cat theme a little hard in 2021. But essentially players in new places, like kind of the conceptual sort of prequel to Fresh Threads in a lot of ways. Because it's easy to think that Jrue's been on the Bucks for 10 years. It certainly feels that way, but this was his first year in Milwaukee, and that whole fourth wave of the CoolCat releases was players on new teams. Man, Jrue Holiday, just incredible. It's fun seeing the response to just a respect, I guess, that the players have for him. We saw it with TopShot 50. Jrue was one of the pretty early votes in from the PA with the TopShot 50 that we did, and the Athletic just worked with a bunch of players and got a lot of polls done, and Jrue Holiday was just so respected by his peers, and it's just incredible to sort of see his impact on the Bucks.
Yeah, great player. I mean, I'm amazed at the it's the speed at which these things are happening and the size of these human beings doing them. Like, that is so difficult, the timing right there on the pass and the shot. And Holiday's just he's just such a solid defender, good decision maker. You just never feel like he's out of control or being forced to do anything on the court he doesn't want to do, right? And the defensive play last year in the playoffs against Marcus Smart is one of the most impressive plays I've ever seen. And I was, I'm sitting there, obviously not happy about it, but going, wow, what a basketball player this guy is. Like you're saying, man, you can't, if you love basketball, you can't help but respect this dude. He's just everything you want in a basketball player.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought that up, that playoff moment from last year, because to me that kind of feels like a good sort of case study and what I think TopShot can be. Years from now when we're telling our kids about back in the day, like we talk about Jrue Holiday, what are you going to show? Like this guy was just a terror on defense, just incredibly smart, and now there's a couple of cases that you can just refer to that exist on TopShot. Like, oh, let's go back and look at Jrue Holiday's sort of story unfold. And you get the steal on Booker, but then you'd be like, oh, but then in the next playoffs, like against, our beloved Celtics, like he did this to Marcus Smart. Like, these are the type, it's just like a tool that can help, just people discuss the history of the game. We don't really regard it necessarily as history as it's happening, but that's what it is. It's literally just history unfolding in front of us. So to be able to get those sort of memorable chapters of Jrue Holiday's career, what makes us think about Jrue the way that we think about Jrue? It's these collections of memories, that makes us so high on this player, and to be able to the best of our ability, sort of distill that in moment form. I'm really excited to be able to do, and that's the challenge. That's where the hard part is, but the fun part too.
Yeah, no doubt. You say that it goes. The thing I'm really starting to get into is different ways to display my collection, creating these different videos. And last night, I've made a bunch of them. But last night, we had some friends over to watch the game with us, and at halftime, I pulled up these different videos I'm making to that just display different. different parts of my collection, right? Different players, and these guys, the people that were over aren't huge NBA fans, but I was like, look, check this out. Let me tell you about this player, and instead of, I pulled up these videos I've made that are videos from my collection, right? That I've compiled and done some different fun things with. And so it really is becoming a way to tell the story of a player through my collection.
Yeah.
Right. The moments that I like the most of that player. And then adding this other production stuff that I think is cool and fun. But it's just, it's an enjoyable way to engage with your collection and show it off, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there's pressure there should be pressure on us to keep putting those tools to do that stuff in your guys' hands, we've seen so many creative uses of moments that have been brought into other videos, and people are getting really creative with how they share stuff on social. But I want us, like, what can we do to make it easier for that, so we don't have to rely on people being industrious enough to be able and have the skills to be able to, really put something together. Like, what can we do to make that even more seamless? So, like, you can just straight out of the box, straight out of TopShot.com, you can just say, like, you can tell the stories that you want to tell. Because I don't know that we're there yet. It's a work in progress. And we've seen the community be like, this isn't enough. I want to be able to do this with my moments or do this with my moments. And we've seen some really cool things come out of that. So it's always fun to see what pops up. And I think I know what you're talking about with the, like, are you talking about when you've got the video playing in the middle and you've got like the thumbnails on the side? Is that, I think I've seen that.
So I've done a couple of them that I've posted on social media. One of them is my ticket stubs, right, from the Grizzly games I got to go to this year. And I put the ticket stub next to the moment from that game that I own. And then I did I took that picture of Bird, McHale, and Parrish on the bench together. And I put their moments from each from my collection on top of that. And I have that playing in my office on my office TV when she's always playing. But yeah, stuff like that. And I've had people reach out and ask me how I'm doing it. Well, maybe I'll do some instructional videos, how to display your collection like a champ, not a chump. How about that?
I love it.
Sorry, a little tangent there, guys. Sorry about that.
That will happen on Moment by Moment. Brett, what before, so I can get this Jrue off, Jrue moment off the screen. What stats do you have for us?
Thanks for clarifying right there, because I was about to go the opposite direction.
Pause.
Long pause. This is probably the ideal height for me. If I had to choose a height, I think the 6'3" would be the height I'd go for. Because who wants to be 6'2" and 6'4" just seems way too much.
Yeah, 6'3" is nice. Speaking from experience, 6'3" is nice.
The view from up there must be fantastic.
Well, the ladies love it. I know that. Well, at least one lady who decides to stick around.
So, anyways, TopShot, huh? No, this moment I really like this a lot. 20,000 mint, 600 still in packs. Holiday went 32 minutes, 18 points. But I mean, man, the dude didn't even have to look at the basket. He just pretty sure closed his eyes and threw the ball up. It's just an awesome moment. And for this moment to be $5 is insane too. I think if you're not into CoolCats yet, you got to dive into this, because I mean, it's just some of the pivotal cornerstone of TopShot in these moments, and where they go from here is just incredible. So it's definitely a guy that, not to mention championship year, he's got that championship badge. So if you don't have, some badges in your life, this is a good way to get one of those in there too. So you can't go wrong with that.
Absolutely.
Great stuff, Brett. Let's get that off the screen and keep talking.
SDA probably doesn't like that moment too much. Seems like we got a lot of moments where Wizards getting used and abused.
I wasn't going to say anything, but now that it's out there.
I think someone in chat really wanted what was it here? Really wanted the Bucks playoffs moment they were talking about. Oh yeah, the Heat, the Bucks and Heat playoff moment, Game 2. They were talking about. Please don't mint any from that. Thought it was pretty funny over there. Yeah, it's going off.
I have 2 questions for you, Austin, and one is on CoolCats, so I wanted to ask that while we were still on topic. If you were talking to somebody who's on the platform and is not yet a holder of NLL, what's one thing that you would tell them, about CoolCats that maybe they don't know? What's something that you would say to somebody that like us, that hasn't finished it? Not like us, somebody that's in our group that would like to finish it but hasn't. How would you encourage them to do that?
I mean, I think the CoolCats set is TopShot history. Like, honestly, like when you think, obviously it's series 2, but in a lot of ways, like that kind of feels like the origin story of TopShot as this phenomenon. And even if you strip all the basketball away from the set, like just that existential like value that set serves in TopShot's identity. If you didn't like live through that surreal time period, then just know like that in a lot of ways, like this is where TopShot kind of became TopShot. This is where people were, sending me Pepe Sylvia like threads about which NBA players had cats because they think that that's going to be the next wave of challenge requirements. Like it was just, I mean, and I think you can stretch this beyond just the TopShot like timeline. It's like this moment in time, was like an accelerant for like Web3 and this NFT like revolution. Like we had people pouring in that knew nothing about basketball just because TopShot and CoolCats was this phenomenon. So it's certainly this sort of landmark moment in tech, certainly in NFT tech. So that's, it's just loaded with this sort of context that stretches beyond basketball. It's fun, that's probably what I would lead with. I just have a lot of just fond memories of that moment in time, which the set in my mind represents.
That's awesome. Fantastic to hear. And I loved hearing it coming from you. We have Treaticus was part of the Master Challenge. We have several people in our group that King Brett that were going after it in real time, so they know exactly what you're talking about. And some of us were not able to participate, but we were around and watching it and hearing from our friends that were going through it. And it just seems like, to your point, it's the story of the origination of TopShot. I saw in the chat here, Dream Shake saying that a bet on CoolCats is a bet on TopShot. I couldn't agree more that if TopShot makes it, CoolCats is going to make it, in my opinion. So great points. Anybody else?
I mean, I always have stuff to say. It's just when I'm allowed to talk. Thanks for stealing that. I've been waiting to say the dream quote. I've been staring at it there. And if we're talking about chat, Michael wants to know, Treaticus, why you're not dressed like Dylan Brooks this morning. Show me that chest, baby.
I would, but I got a really good chest. I ain't gonna lie, and my shoulders and chest are, but my calves, number one. I've thought about an OnlyFans for my calves as a way to make top money to feed my TopShot habit.
Whatever you got to do.
TopShot OnlyFans, Alpha News. Everyone heard it first. Treaticus in his calves. No, Austin, though, I do. So I love one of the things that you were saying. Like you're talking about kind of that second wave. A lot of the players came from college teams that had like cat mascots. And then that last wave was like all the people on new teams. So that's something to me that's really cool. And you're the only guy we can ask, right? Really. What so like, is there anything else that you're tying to that, like moving forward? Because to me, that's really cool to know. And that's something until I heard it here, I never knew that. But now I'm like thinking about it, like, oh yeah, they did all come from, oh wait, they were all first year. Like it's starting to make sense. To me,
Yeah.
that's half the fun and the excitement. Like, can you just kind of walk me through that or talk to us about kind of the requirements y'all may look at or some fun things like that y'all are doing?
Yeah, like that series 2 was an interesting time where, what the TopShot world looked like at the end of series 2 was a lot different than when it was planned at the beginning of series 2. So a lot of that stuff, was kind of figured out on the fly as the world was changing underneath us. Since it's a bit different in series 3 and in series 4, these are the first 2 full seasons where we've kind of had an established curation kind of process. So there's not as much of the figuring out themes like on the fly. Like now that kind of just gets really distilled into what sets we actually reveal at the beginning of the year, which there's a lot of benefits of, being able to have the roadmap pre-announced allows us to sort of do a better job of curating to make sure the plays that fit in certain buckets, like hustle and show or extra spice or throwdowns or all these things. As soon as tip off in October happens, we can start, setting plays aside to be where they are. But lost it in that, a lot of benefits of that, but lost in that is this sort of pucker moment where you're like, oh, we got a drop coming out. Like we need to figure out a theme that makes sense, and there's a lot of fun in that. So maybe the challenge for us, heading forward, is how can we kind of do both? Because there was just this. It's fun to have those sort of hidden sort of themes, those sub themes within a set. Since CoolCats, we don't really have one of the things as we've become a bit more regimented in where we're assigning content, and the hierarchy between legendary, rare, and common is becoming more established. Whereas in series 2, that wasn't the case. CoolCats was in there almost competing in a sense. And when I mean competing, I mean competing for the good plays. Whether a play went to MGLE or to the base set or to CoolCats, there really wasn't an established hierarchy at that point. And that's something we try to we've tried to move away from. And now we want to make it as transparent as possible. Hey, if we put in something in TopShot 50, it's because that's there for a very specific reason, as opposed to what we put in that guy's MGLE, what we put in that guy's base set. And anything that sort of strays from that very clear hierarchy is a very almost inherently themed niche, that's just very obvious to see. And throwdowns and, hustle and show and stuff like that. Whereas, so that's kind of made our life easier, and it's made regimenting where content goes, in my mind, I think more clearly. Although now, as I say this sentence, I feel like I just sound like a mad scientist, but I promise there's some logic behind this. And that wasn't the case during the CoolCats era. So these are just some of the learnings that we've kind of had as we now are in series 4 and thinking about series 5.
And the thing I really love about what you're saying is that there's I don't know any other way to do it. You got to have some sort of idea, some sort of plan. I think, again, I'm going to go basketball illustrate. It's like a game plan, right? You go into a game, and I used to sit there, and my dad would put out there we'd put on the bulletin board, right? He'd write this stuff out. This is offensively this, defensively this. This is what, and then you get in the game and stuff happens you didn't expect, and you got to adjust. So it's like being able to do both of those things throughout a series on NBA TopShot, as far as the moments go. You got to have some sort of large plan, but then again, you got an NBA season, right? You've got things that happen that are completely unpredictable. So you got to have a game plan. You got to make in-game adjustments, and that's why I feel like you guys have really killed it this year on. I think we'll see it in the next, from now on in the series, is you got a game plan going in, but you also know you got to make adjustments based on what happens in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If they're picking on somebody in that pick and roll, you're gonna have to make some adjustments. You can't just you got to go over that pick, or you got to double team. You got to do something to change that may not have been part of the game plan early on.
Yeah, exactly. And one kind of thing that I kind of point to as a benefit of having that plan ahead of time. If you look at like throwdowns in series 2, like a lot of the plays are from like March and April, right? Like that dropped I think in April, where so throwdowns end up being, a lot of great dunks from the kind of month or two before that drop happened. Whereas in series 3 and in series 4, like we made it like a point, like from like game like number 1 of the season, like if something is like a dunk of the year candidate and we're not stealing it for Hollow or TopShot 50, like we want it in throwdowns. Even if it happened in October, November, March, April, like that's where we want it. And so it's always kind of a fun time at the beginning of the season. We've done this for the last 2 years now. Is like you can kind of think like season starts, we've got all these buckets, and usually they're public. Like we try to make these public. Like we've got these buckets of where stuff is going to go. Hey, we know if a great dunk happens, we're going to save it for throwdowns unless we have to use it for TopShot 50. Same with Hustle and Show, Extra Spice, and now For the Win, to be able to. And so we watch all these sort of buckets fill up over the course of the year. And then when it comes time to drop that content, it's now stronger than ever because we've been sort of sampling the entire season to get that stuff. And there's upsides of that. The content is, in my mind, more compelling, and it's stronger. It's more organized and predictable. But there's downsides, like, if we really want to do that, all of a sudden we're backloading everything, and that's not ideal in some ways too, right? Like we can't, like if it was up to me, I'd wait till the end of game 82 and I'd be like, okay, guys, we've decided, here's all your moments. Like that doesn't work either. So going to what you said, Treat, it's kind of there's a blend of both. And sometimes we got to know when we got to pull the trigger. Like if we have to, when we're releasing an MGLE in like December, for example, like we don't know technically that's going to be this guy's second best play. It might be his 8th best play by the end of the year. So like you kind of got to make those judgment calls, and it's impossible to get 100% right, but hopefully we can get as close as possible.
I love how, Austin, you brought up throwdowns and series 3 and series 4, and how you guys have been concentrating on those buckets and picking those plays. And I wanted to talk about rares as my second question. I feel like Series 4 has been really special. You can see it right from the get-go, like we already mentioned with the run-it-backs, but the dynamic duos, the first team reels of their kind. We had people in our group going nuts over those. Those were really cool. And every team getting a TopShot debut, and you could see that was now going to be a tool in y'all's tool belt, to Treat's point about adapting. And now having that as something that you could do season to season. And then you saw them come back in video game numbers for individual real moments. Another thing that you've seen the connecting and collecting group go nuts. So really cool things happening in Series 4 on the rare sets that you guys are choosing.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. I think it's just this evolution, this constant evolution, not only on the content side, but what's possible on the, like in terms of the back end and what we can actually do in product, that's evolving. And, where in a lot of ways we're using these sort of leaderboard rewards as a way to really do stuff that's unprecedented. And I think everything that we've done, so far has kind of been like this new, it's like a child, like a toddler, a baby growing up and like learning, oh, like I can actually do this, or I can talk now. Like, and it's just learning, adding these skills that make it more capable. And I think we're seeing that in product as things like, hey, we can give moments to teams now. Like, let's do it. Or like, the reels, obviously a massive part of that. And even with Fit Check was the first time we have a moment that it is multiple games. Like It's the first time we've ever had moments that aren't a single game. Like, these are like proof of concepts of like use cases of how we can start like working with content, and it's kind of cool to be able to get these out like as appealing leaderboard rewards. And now they sit as collectibles that you can scoop up on the marketplace that are really truly like unprecedented, even with fit check, which is clearly it's experimental in the sense that it was the first multi-game reel, but like it's also unique conceptually. Like, we're not focusing on a player or a play or a performance or even a duo. Like, we're making like a moment, we're making a memory of literally just like branding, aesthetics. It's just like jerseys. Like, how many of us that are big basketball fans just grew up obsessed with jerseys? Team gets a new jersey. Like, I love what Nike's doing with all these crazy jerseys, but it's hard to keep up with. So we're like, how can we, do our part to sort of like chronicle, these are the fits that your team wore this year. Some of them will be different next year, and you might forget that they wore that. Like, you might forget that the Pistons wore their Werner's jerseys this year, the green ones, right? So we want to be able to really experiment conceptually as well, and other things like, for the first time, like we changed the set panel art for every single team this year, for the fit checks, because we figured, if this is a set dedicated to colors and branding and design, like, we want the set panels to change team by team. So just constantly trying to push the envelope. And like we said at the beginning, constantly learning, taking notes, like what works, what doesn't work, what do we want to keep doing, and what do we want to pivot away from? Like, it's certainly been that way in Series 4.
I'm glad you said push the envelope. That's Brandon Soul on your team said earlier this week in our pod, pushing the limits and same thing, taking notes and adapting. So I'm glad that you guys are doing that and pushing it to try to find new things that work. He gave a shout out to Dave, Time Lord, and you are too, indirectly talking about the fit checks. I guess that was his baby and whatnot. And we talked a little bit about Gnome. So we got you, AK, Brandon, Gnome, and Dave. Is there anybody else on your team that you wanted to give a shout out to while we had you here? Is there anybody else?
Gosh. We've got so many. Every time we do something, the ripple effects that kind of go down like behind the scenes are just so incredible. We've got these great engineers like that literally will have to do things and be like, if something is minor, I was like, oh my god, we need a hook shot. We can't call this junior sky hook like a layup, and like that all has to be accounted for in our back end. It has to be accounted for like on chain, like. And so we just the engineers and the developers that are kind of just keeping up with these sort of concepts and these ideas that we're having. Like, nothing would be possible without them. Previously, if we tried to mint a moment and it didn't have a game date, it would just like blow up the site. Like now we can actually have the infrastructure to handle that sort of stuff. So those people just kind of hold everything together. But yeah, you mentioned just Brandon and Dave, who are with us now. Of course, Brandon's been incredible, was exactly what I hoped for and more, way more, has just taken, just does an amazing job of being able to, first and foremost, just be a basketball addict and not just somebody who likes the sport, but somebody who just really sees the game in a really great way. Has taken on just so much of the day-to-day process of making sure that every moment that ends up in the set, in the product, whether it's a common base set moment of a player, like of a seventh man, like it's going to be it's going to be thoughtfully there for a very specific reason. And Brandon just does a great job of that. And I've been really impressed. He's been just building out tooling for us. Like, he's just made life so much easier for the entire team. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but in Series 2, we had some like mistakes. Like, there were just, this data was wrong, or this thing. Like, we're building all these tools like on the fly. It's like kind of building a car as it's speeding down the highway. And there was a lot of that early on as we were sort of, growing in this capacity, and Brandon's just taken our game to a whole new level, just in terms of how organized we are in our systems, make sure nothing gets lost. And, just an absolute MVP for us. So Noam's not with us anymore, but he's like the OG of our new editing style. The first one to really take that emotion and really start getting creative with these cuts. Like in series 2, in the final set, I was just by myself at that point, and we wanted to use Phantom Cam. I got Phantom Cam for the series 2 finals, and I was just like obsessed with that. Like just like watching these Phantom Cam angles. And one that comes to mind is the Giannis block. Like originally we had the Giannis block. It was just like covering like the basketball, like, the lob goes up and we're just like watching the basketball go in slow motion. I'm like, I don't want to see the basketball in slow motion. I want to see Giannis processing what he has to do. Like, that's what I want to see, like focus on that. So it's kind of like my first time. I mean, this is like June 2021, right? This is my first time really going like full on director's hat and just being like really involved in trying to direct what we actually show in this footage. And I'd never done that before. And at that point, I'm like, if we do this, like we can make a huge impact on what this can be. So then I'm like, I want to get somebody that knows a lot more than I know, that can come in and really establish these new processes for how we sort of direct this footage. Like we work with the Nba on this. They do a lot of the cutting, but with
Nice.
like it's sort of a collaboration. So I'm like, I need somebody that can really own that process. And Noam built that and really kind of was the sort of godfather of our new editing style. Just incredible for us. Get like more player reactions, all these things, just pushing the envelope. Again, it's always about pushing the envelope. Before, like we never showed bench reactions. And then it was, it was like weird during the COVID era where some players were wearing masks, but some players wouldn't wear their masks properly. And we couldn't so there's just so many weird things that have to go on.
Yeah, that had to be difficult.
So, just bit by bit, trying to improve upon the process has been awesome. And Dave, Time Lord, everybody knows like the creativity that he brings. Like he's just been awesome. Not only just video, y'all know he can do great stuff with video, but like he's really great and like doing photo, doing design. Obviously, he does a lot of the kind of the marketing resources, like those really fun. A Time Lord video when you see one. Let's be honest. He's just so great and creative at that. So I'm lucky to be able to work with them. They take our game to this incredible new level, and that's not going to stop. Like we're pushing on basically every front you can think of. Like we're pushing on it pretty much endlessly. So I'm excited to see what comes next.
That's awesome to hear, because the same way that you feel, I'm sure, when you guys are very zoomed in, that it's hard to see changes. So you kind of have to step back and take that bigger view sometimes to realize, man, we've evolved a ton, and we try to do the same thing. Just because every day there's so many changes and it's hard to see in the moment because there's so much stuff going on. But then we back up and be like, do you remember just 2 months ago when this and this? So great job. You're doing awesome. Keep it up.
Thank you. It means a lot to see you guys enjoy it. It means a lot. So we'll keep pushing for you guys.
I agree. We're finding our groove, right? TopShot's finding its groove, right? And obviously, there's always going to be progress, change, development, but in a certain direction that is leaning into the enjoyment of the game, the enjoyment of the NBA. And I think you see, there's just a group of us that are leaning with you, So I do feel like the dance between the collectors and the team, so the fan base and the front office, so to speak, and the players like you that are getting the job done day to day. We're really finding our groove and our sync, and it's been great. And man, you have been so generous with your time today. Thank you so much. It's been a blast. I hope you'll come back, man, because we've been on an hour and 15, and we could. There's no doubt we could go as long. No telling where it'd go, but I don't want to take any more of your time. I really appreciate it, and appreciate King Brett and Three Ball. They're the best. So thank you guys so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. So anytime if you want to come back, I can tuck your ear off about these things.
Love
so
it.
Just like bring me back and we'll go
Love
again.
Brett, you or Three Ball got anything?
Yeah, so we can't let you out of here. Two things. One, I'm going to give you some love, Austin. You mentioned something earlier, and you said moment or a memory, and I feel like that almost describes TopShot for me, because when I first got into it with Three Ball, there were so many moments that I felt were like forced to be a moment, like it was being put out. Series 1 was like it was like all the craziest stuff. It was like the coolest stuff around. And then I feel like the growing process, right? Like you were talking about having to like create like cats or people that are on new teams and like forcing to create something, to where now y'all have evolved so much. And I can't like you brought up the player reactions, the bench reactions, the moments, the cuts. Like before, it was just kind of 3 versions, and now we're getting expressions and facials. And I have to say, S4 is quoting Treaticus is fire. But dude, it's so awesome. Now I feel like I want to have these moments in my collection, because it's not just a moment. It's a memory that I can watch this and be taken to that game. I knew what happened. I can recall things. It's just so great. Y'all are doing such amazing stuff, and I challenge you to keep doing it, keep pushing the moments and pushing the envelopes. So just thank you and the whole entire team. I know TopShot people, we get it's easy for us to complain, and I said it earlier. You have what TopShot fans perceive as the easiest job in the world, right? Oh, it's an awesome moment. Just pick it, duh. But then, like, there's so many, like you said, so many buckets and avenues that moment could be in, and there's so many different implications. So I don't envy you. I'm very grateful. I'll always keep saying TopShot this on those crazy moments, just to maybe help. I don't know. But just thank you and the whole team. And I love the direction of TopShot. And S4 has really invigorated a lot of us to renew that fire under us to kind of complete sets and stay involved. And there's just so many great things happening. So thank you
so much.
Sure.
No, I appreciate that. And I'll relay that to everybody, involved. So.
All right. So now the toughest question, and I'm going to hit all 4 of us. Austin, I'm going to save you, because obviously the best for last. I just noticed that Canadian flag on that hat. I love it.
There you go.
Representing. So out of the 3 CoolCats moments we watched today, I'm going to start with Three Ball. We need your pick of the week. What is, out of the 3 moments, what is your pick of the week? What's your favorite moment out of the 3 we've watched today, and why?
I'm going to take the veteran out of the group, Jrue Holiday. As you mentioned earlier, it's badged. It's the year they won it. And I'm also leaning towards them winning it again this year. Don't tell anyone.
Alpha.
All right, that's the worst take I've ever heard on this show. I mean, damn. I thought the man knew basketball. You know,
he let me go first.
I mean, I thought, okay, it's tough to have a heartbreak this early in the morning, to have a friend just stab you in the back like that. But no, seriously, I like the Herro moment. I just that dude is impressive, and that move is impressive. All the things we talked about him and that play, I think it's definitely my favorite. And I hate that he's hurt. That's sad. And but I don't care who's hurt. Bring them all comers. Bring it to the Celtics, because we got the bench, we got the superstars. It's our year. Period. Facts.
I love it. I love the confidence. Banner 18. Let's go.
Oh man. All right. Again, saving best for last. I'm going to go. I have to. One of you so far is absolutely correct, and one of you is bat crazy. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Tyler, my boy, Mr. 6'5". Just the crossover. I'm not good left-handed, so the fact that he's crossing over left hand, switches it behind the basket up top. He was looking at his shot, which is something I don't like about the Holiday moment. Dude didn't even look. He just threw it up there and got lucky. So that's going to be my pick of the week is Mr. Tyler himself. So no pressure. Don't feel jaded just because one of us is picked one and two picked the other. But what's your favorite moment, AK?
I mean, I got to join you on the Tyler Herro bandwagon. And it just means, the guy just oozes charisma. You just want to watch him play basketball. And I can look past the fact that the on-chain data is wrong because this also is a big, spot in my mind, like sentimentally, just being part of that cat-themed wave of content, a big part of my journey with TopShot. So, yeah, I have to join you there.
It makes it rare with that blockchain info being incorrect.
There you go. Yeah. Different time. If you go to Marketplace and you search like Tyler Herro, like in chronological order, there's like 3 plays. There's 3 Tyler Herro plays on December 29th, 2020, which is insane. There's 2 from this game. There's another play from this game. And then, like I said, there's the play from the other game of the back-to-back. Like just these are the sort of things that wouldn't happen in Series 4, but did happen back then. So different time.
Love it. Man, guys, this has been so much fun. It's really cool, right? That this thing called NBA TopShot has given us these avenues for these relationships. I have not had this much fun talking hoops in a long time, gentlemen, and I really, really appreciate it. I do not take it lightly to be able to have friends like you guys that love the game like I do. I'm probably still the best baller in the group, but nothing but love for you, fam. Thank you for your time. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, Austin, for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. And I've seen some people asking me some stuff in the chat. Like, DM me on Twitter. I'll answer anything you guys have. I'm not very good at doing 2 things at once. But if there's anything, you can always reach out to me on Twitter.
All good. All right. See you soon.
Thanks a lot, Austin. Peace out, everyone.